So what's up everyone, Dash here. With me today is a very special guest. He's an actor, a producer, an entrepreneur, the awesome, the one and only Bront Palarae. Welcome.
Hello man.
Yes, hello. Nice to have you.
Pleasure.
So I want to talk to you about Fly By Night,
Sure,
the
man.
highly anticipated movie that you'll be starring in later. But before that, let's rewind a little bit to last year, where a movie that you produced made waves all over Malaysia, in the critic circle, in the film enthusiast circle, even internationally also. And I'm talking, of course, about One To Jaga. So, how did the idea of One To Jaga come about?
Well, it's a slow. I think it's an evolution
Yeah.
of sort. Where Namron had a movie and the movie didn't, somehow fell apart during. I think it was a week before it shoot.
Yeah.
And we were, we are very close as friends, as collaborators. So he came over and it was a dark, rainy night, and pouring his heart out, oh my God, I don't know what's gonna do, what am I gonna do next? Now the movie is collapsed, blah blah blah. And at that time I was doing a show and we kind of had 2 days of equipment and crew, and as a consolation of sort. So I was like, why don't you just you play around with these 2 days, see what you want to do, and probably come up with something, and let's do.
Okay.
I produce your next movie lah.
Okay.
Yeah, things like that lah.
Yeah.
So. And within the same week, I think we kind of trash out rough ideas on what kind of issues we want to tackle, what kind of issues that never been tackled in the local film industry, and what kind of senses we want to give our audience as a ride cinematically. And then we spoke a bit, and we kind of find police corruption, foreign workers a bit in tune with what we kind of see how our society was back then. I think still relatable now. So we boarded our proof of concept, and from then on we pushed it to project market. We got lucky in Singapore during the Southeast Asian Film Financing Forum. We won the grand prize that came with the camera. And at that time, I was already doing groundwork for my dawn raid, and because of the camera came in, and it lapsed within a year, so it's kind of okay, forget about dawn raid for a while. Let's focus on this because otherwise we're gonna lose the camera, and that's how it things just start rolling, and things the support kind of came in one after another.
Because you were working with, I'm assuming a lot of them were your friends also, industry friends and all that.
It's just a bunch of friends sharing the same passions, sharing the same love for cinema, and try to do something a bit fresh. May not be bigger, of course it's not bigger, but something fresh, something that we think our problem has been traveling around whenever we see, filmmakers or people that we meet abroad. The biggest problem is whenever someone says, you have any cool movies you want to, share with me? Okay. And we always find, what kind of movie? Not much. And some of the movies, Bunuhan was a long time ago, Songkran was a long time ago. So we kind of
these kind of movies are very few and far between.
Exactly. So we kind of oh my God, then let's make one. At least it's ours. Hopefully it can be something that we can share. So even though 5 years down the line, it's still ours. So people will say, people wouldn't say, Songkran is cool, but I think this is 2012 or 2013, things like that.
So it's because like you said, it's a small project with a bunch of friends and all that. But then, it did, for what it was, it did pretty well at the box office, I would say. And also, once it dropped on Netflix, because Netflix purchased the movie.
We actually got Netflix first.
Okay.
We kind of
so you sold the rights to Netflix. How does what was the exact situation actually?
When we sent them a rough cut, I think Netflix was the first to see the movie and the evolution of it, how it came about towards the end of the journey. So they were well aware, they were in way before we sent to LPF, they were aware of, except at that time we were kind of are we going to go into Indonesia, are we going to go into Singapore? and there was some other commercial, the commercial aspect of it that we were a bit not sure, because like to release theatrical in Malaysia, that will cost another 300,000, and we know deep down, like, this kind of movie gonna face some challenge commercially, and our KPI with Finas was only international impact, and we're kind of like, okay, with Netflix, it's pretty much done, but some within the team was kind of like, at the end of the day, there's nothing to be proud of.
If it doesn't hit the cinemas.
If it doesn't hit the cinema, if it doesn't impact the local theatrical community, so it's kind of like, and then Ineos came in with sponsorship, then we kind of like, okay, maybe that will help absorb half of the P&A cost, and then with TGV giving superb support, Media Prima coming in and giving us superb assistance and support. We're kind of like, all right, then it makes sense for us to go down that road. Because if by ourselves, I don't think we'll be able. And the fact that we came out right after Munafik, some people say it's the wrong timing. I would say we benefited a lot because the spillover effect. Because some people couldn't get tickets. But they're already at the cinema, so the TGV staff normally will recommend, go for One to Jaga, go for One to Jaga, and we could see the second week it picked up really well.
And okay, let's talk about, because you mentioned LPF earlier. So now there's this thing where, like, I feel a lot of filmmakers like face this challenge, because you see, like, I think a lot of people, like, even let's say the review on BFM, even the review that I wrote and all that, we love the movie, but we watched it in the cinema for the first time, although it was not publicly announced, we were like, people who kind of know movies, you're like, okay, this ending is definitely changed to fit the theatrical audience, like Malaysian law and all that. But does this become like a huge hindrance, and it doesn't?
No, because I think we are practical enough. If you read interviews with great filmmakers back then, Hitchcock had the same problem. Everyone had the same problem, and everyone had the same. Everyone had to play within the parameters they're living in. Challenge, yes. Hindrance, no. Challenge, I mean, like, making a good film is tough enough. But then making a good film within certain parameters that you cannot, or you don't have the liberty to portray certain stuff, is a challenge. But it's I totally understand. That's why I think we work so well with LPF, because for us, we know, okay, the movie gonna be released on Netflix anyway. And it's a no holds barred version. People gonna see, like, all the whatever dialogues we wanted or intended for the audience would be there, will be there and still there. And the one with the one for the audience is the local audience comes with a different framework in terms of mindset, because LPF is part of KDN. They are not a part of Finas. They don't serve the movie industry. They serve the security of the nation, the country, whatever potential conflict that may arise, be it within the country or bilateral problem.
But okay, so I get that. But okay, so here's my question, because I'm coming from a perspective of a film lover, critic from the outside, but you are in the industry, so I know your perspective. Because let's say we talk about Hitchcock and all, the difference between, let's say, that era and now. Let's say even if we play devil's advocate and say we agree with the whole idea that, like, the country says that they don't want the masses to be exposed to certain type of thing and all. Okay, let's say we agree with that. But the difference between the climate back then is if it doesn't, whatever that gets left on the censor board's floor was on the chopping room floor and everything, and that's it. But the difference is now with the whole internet era of things. Even if you look at, let's say, Hollywood movies that come in, people will look like, okay, this movie is censored, I'm just gonna torrent it, I'm just gonna illegally download. So even with the censorship, let's say, even if you agree with the censorship, who are they protecting when even like anybody can just get the full version?
I think it's a different subject matter altogether. Even though it's within the same, verticals. Because in that regard, the question would be, is LPF still relevant with the times of the internet?
Yeah.
Because if I don't need to go to cinema and watch a cut down version of a movie, when I can watch a no censored version,
Netflix, or,
at a flicker of a finger. So it poses the relevance of LPF, which for me I can live by and abide the rules by LPF.
Yes.
But that subject that you brought up just now is a good overview on, okay, do we need LPF anymore, or how do we see the function of LPF now? Because are we going down the China route?
Right.
But then you still have VPN.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like how do you, and I think that is the question to LPF rather than us. If you ask as a filmmaker, as a producer, I can abide the rules set by them for local consumption.
Right.
But our model has never been like others anyway, because our objective of any movie is to serve the world market.
Yes.
But Malaysia is one of the market.
Right.
So when we make movies, we have okay, this is how the intended vision gonna be like.
Right.
But if for Malaysia's LPF sake and for the home security type of mindset, then we don't mind cutting down and we play, because Hollywood movies also get cut down anyway.
Right.
So it's like only pity the local audience because they don't get the full experience, the full cinematic experience.
That's the thing, because it also like we've been talking, I wonder like what a lot of the filmmakers' mindset is, because like I think a lot of people, like, you want to start like if you make as a proud Malaysian, you make a movie and you hope that Malaysians get to watch the full version in cinemas, and like a lot of countries where they do have like their censor board and all that, but the censor board functions more as like, okay, this only 21-year-old and above can watch. But here, even with all those, they still cut this and cut that. And
we propose, like, can you let us go with 18? We are fine with 18. The movie was made for 18 and above anyway.
Right.
If somebody bring the kid,
that is
like,
not,
we will feel bad ourselves because it's not a subject.
Yeah,
it's not something for kids to watch.
It's not your responsibility anymore, because you put 18 already. It's like the theatre chains, whoever's staring the tickets and all that, they are not supposed to allow kids to go in.
Because the subject matter, the things being discussed, the portrayal, the audio, which is profanities, things like that. It's totally for people who have some maturity or some understanding of life, which is 18 is okay. If they give us 21, it's still okay. Because of the severity of the subject or the type of subject matter that we brought up in the film. But they said, we're gonna give you 13. I think the movie deserves to be seen, which we appreciate a lot. But we still gonna cut this part, and but we work kind of well, because the first notes that came out from them, it had 38 points.
Okay.
Then we went one by one and it cut down to 16, and then they had a second review, and then it cut down to 8.
Right.
Which for me is quite generous from their side, because they could see the intention that and coming back to the freedom of doing anything, for me it's also, we take real pride in being given the chance to handle the subject, or given the liberty to explore that subject, because it could have been easily sensationalized. It could have been a tabloidish type of movie. People just portray police for the sake of portraying it, for the sake of having a kick out of it. But me and Amron from the get-go were like, we're the first, we shouldn't be the last. Because this will be the will open the gate, the floodgate to a lot of other filmmakers.
In that front, you guys really succeeded.
We try to balance, like, we're not putting a blanket judgment. We're not even judging the police. We're like, there's some within, the whole basket is not like, 100% is perfect. So these are some of the bad apples, and let's take it as that, some bad apples.
think on that front, you guys really succeeded.
We hope
yeah.
so, yeah.
Hope now there are more people who really explore this avenue.
And see it as a delicate subject and treat it still with full respect, rather like, police all corrupt.
To show the depth of the characters, the grey areas and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing, the movie was quite short by global standard. I don't mean that as the bad thing or anything, but it was only an hour and 22 minutes or something around
80
that.
minutes.
And was that like when you guys were like you wanted it to keep it tight, or was that because like one thing, let's say in the movie, there were a lot of interesting characters. For example, the Indian dato or the Chinese gangster that love to eat crabs in the seafood restaurant and all that. But when you look at, let's say, films like Goodfellas and all that, also all these interesting characters, but it's a 3.5 hour movie. So why did you guys decide to go with 1 hour?
Okay, 120 is because of the kind of pace we wanted for. We could have done a festival cut.
Okay.
6 seconds, one cut, 8 seconds, one cut. But from the get-go, we're kind of like, we're making edgy films.
All right.
An edgy film. We don't want to bore the audience to death with a festival kind of cut, a slow cut. And we need dynamism in the storyline.
Right.
And with that will cut out a lot of fat and some of the meat as well. But we kind of like, because the story kind of took, I think, the first act we cut out a lot because we really wanted to, still stick to the structure of like, inciting event should happen within minute 30. And so the first raid where Bob Zahiri Lazi raided the workshop for the first time, where he lined up all the workers. Yeah. So during the first initial cut, it was minute 45, and we discussed a bit about how Namron's movie previously took almost 45 minutes for the inciting event to happen with Psycho Pencuri Hati. So we're kind of like, I don't think the audience can stay that long to wait. And even then, like, you could see some of the local mainstream feel, the first act is a bit long or a bit slow, but then
they're not used to these kind of movies.
They're not used to like a slow burn. So we're kind of like, okay, let's cut it down. So we throw out, I think, 15 minutes of scenes. A lot of it with Kudin's, the bald head guy, the bad cop, and his family, and Vanida Imran's scene, which is very short. Some with Ida Putras and the Filipino boy scene. So we had to do certain decisions because we want to bring the story. We want to make the Act 1 lean. Then we know we are on a good way after that. But with that, it cuts out a lot of duration. So that's 15 minutes of duration.
But it was still fast-paced. I guess at the end, that's what, because now even the it's digestible even in the mainstream.
We really want it because we kind of feel like there's a sort of mindset or how people look at festival films as it has to be boring, it has to be deep, super deep, or look like it's a deep, in thoughts kind of movie, staring, at outside the window, doing nothing, thinking nothing, with having a cigarette, and takes 5 minutes just to finish the scene. So we're kind of like, man, but the festivals are not like that. It's very subject matter based. It's how important that a film within the society or within the context of world politics that makes it exciting prospect for festivals. So we're kind of like, okay, let's prove a point, because this is a mental barrier that all local filmmakers have, or even people in the young film students. Or festival movie have to be like either that or Petronas commercial ad where everything is so world cinema type of. So we're gonna like let's go down and have fun with it, and true enough, like the festival liked it, and the audience, the one who haven't seen it thought it's gonna be that, because festival films. So I really don't blame them. They'll be like, oh my god, it's gonna be hard to digest, hard to understand, slow, boring movie. But those who have seen it kind of feel, hey, it's different, it's edgy, it's energetic, it's dynamic, it's fun, it's funny, it's vulgar as well. So that's what we wanted.
And I think you guys succeeded, definitely.
I hope so.
So now let's come back to the present. Okay, before Fly By Night. So now you are starring. You have a small role in this movie called this comedy called Bikers Kental 2. In the first one, you had a bigger role. Here, your role is very small. For those who haven't seen, technically it's not really a spoiler because it happens in the first scene.
Yeah.
So basically, your character dies within like 5 minutes.
Sort of.
Yeah. Okay. So now my question is like, was that because when you have seen this in other movies before, where like the character from the first movie is like just dies off or whatever. So my question is like, was that it's like when they came to you with the script and they were like, yep, your character is gone, or did you read the script and you say like, okay, maybe I don't, I'm not so, maybe, I'm in a stage of a career, in my career where I don't feel like doing this movie, so they had to kill you? Or like, scheduling conflicts and more of those kind of situations? Like what was the reason your character?
Sort of all the above.
Mixture of all, okay.
It's Hale is a great friend of mine. The director, Hilmi, is also the DP
of Wantu Jaga, right? Yep.
And I was prepping for some project at that time, and so when he approached, kind of, all right, I will, I don't mind playing, but then I'm prepping, and I think the schedule gonna, go head on with the other project.
Yep.
So but then I don't mind. Can you, write something so I still can be in, can be part of the fun ride, and yet doesn't require much commitment.
Okay.
So so we chose the prologue, exit kind of thing.
Okay.
And I think he had a nice strategy as well, like open with something big and then start all over.
Because that was a shocking. I don't think anybody expected that. Yeah. So okay. So now your next movie, Fly By Night, is coming out in April on the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. So this one, a lot of people have been talking about for quite some time, because I think the first teaser dropped like last year, and then like it made some rounds in like international festivals. Okay, like everyone was like, okay, what's this movie going to be about and all that. So now this movie, just tell us a little bit of it. Yeah, tell us like what people can expect from it.
With anything that took so long to develop, we did a proof of concept way before. I think it was before Wantu Jaga.
Okay.
It was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was 4 years ago. We did a proof of concept, and they raised money, and they lost a writer, and they lost a funder, and after we did Wantu Jaga, then Jazzy Entertainment, who our co-production or co-producers, kind of liked the idea of that film as well.
Okay.
So they came in, or they went in, and then keep the project afloat, and finally it came into like fruition, and it's exciting because I think Zahir beat me to that, as in like a Malay filmmaker doing a Chinese story.
Right. Yes.
Normally you get a Chinese filmmaker doing a Malay story. And it's because with Zahir, I think we know of each other for quite some time.
Right.
He was the first winner of BMW Shorties.
Yep.
And then people had high hopes for him, and like this is like the maverick of, but suddenly he just went into TV commercials and just focus in doing TVCs and nothing else. And after 10 over years, then suddenly he felt, okay, I want to do it. So when he first rang me up 4 years ago, he was like, all right, let's do this. Like I thought like we wouldn't have any chance to work together again. But then all right, let's do this. And then it took 4 years before it gets completed, or even it gets the actual money for us to shoot the real film.
Right.
So now it's coming into 5th year actually when we release it. So and working with him is such a joy. It's a nice script. I almost had to pull out because of schedule conflict.
Wow.
Almost because at some point dates are being shifted, everything are being shifted.
It's a huge ensemble.
It's a huge ensemble with a lot of cast from different parts of the world. So it's kind of like and finally when we get to do it, I think I had one of the most fun on any film set. Working with him, collaborating with other actors, and to have a young director, not so young. I always joke with him, like, not so young director, who loves films. He loves films. He enjoys watching films. So we spend time talking about films, watching films, or films that we watch, and the kind of experience we want to give the audience through Fly By Night. And I think now the movie is out. I think a lot of people kind of agree with the stuff that Zahir want them to experience.
Okay. So let's talk about your character a bit. I don't want you to reveal too much that, because
I have not much to reveal anyway.
Okay. Because so you are playing, from what we know from like the first look posters and all that, it's like you are playing this cop who comes from a good place, you have a good intentions and all that, but it's like the cops you see in like films like Heat or Training Day, where if you're in the wrong, you are in the wrong, and they don't mind breaking the laws to doing certain things to get in the name of justice and all that. So like what else can you like share about your character?
The end justifies the means kind of guy. I just only serve the objective of the case, and just but it's nice to work with good director who try to run away from the template of any kind of films that we had. So it's such a joy in that sense that how do you want to portray him? Like do we want like the typical what we have seen? And also there's not a case of things that to run away from things that already done on One to Jaga. So we kind of like only had like little left to play with, and I hope the kind of direction that we found works for the audience. That we kind of know that this character needs to have certain charm. Needs to have certain charm in order for him to be, not for the audience, but to get or extract information out from passerbys. But he also needs to have certain intimidating factor. When he really means it, people could feel that he really means it, and things like that. So it's a conversation that I really get to have with other directors, with this kind of how to tackle a role, or how to bring something to the table.
Speaking of because even from the trailer, we can see that there's this intensity about the character, and so that's what another thing I want to ask you from an actor's perspective, because you see, in person when I talk to you, or like when you interact with fans, for example at the Bikers Kental 2 premiere and all that, you are this big happy guy that's always smiling and like this big bundle of joy, for example. So how do you tap into that intensity like on set?
I don't know. We impersonate, we try to understand the I think it's always start with the kind of movie we want to make. Like, what kind of tone, what kind of energy that we want the audience to feel as a movie first, or which genre do we see, or what kind of energy that we've got from other people's films. Let's say A film, B X title, and we kind of like the energy from the intensity or blah blah blah. Then only we narrow it down into, all right, now with this guy, how do you see how big is the threshold of intensity, and very much guessing the director's taste. I'm just a vessel and a tool to manifest what
the director's vision is.
Yeah, sometimes it's not really vision. Sometimes it's over time. I kind of realize sometimes people say one thing and they will really want something else altogether. Or the to find that real sweet spot within his head and his heart. So the head will always say something else, and the heart, you kind of see the pattern of. But you actually like this one without you realizing it. Do you want me to try go down that road and see whether you really like it, or And most of the time, like once you go down the road, then they realize they actually like it. They never rationalize it. So it's about guessing the taste of tone, of intensity, of performance, or colors, or form of characters. And I think that's the fun part of acting for me.
Right.
It's not much about doing is fun, but the second guessing or the guessing game that we have as actors with directors, like what kind
because
of
you are interpreting the script, and bringing your own soul into it. Yeah. So one last question before I let you go. So, what sort of actor are you? Because you hear. These kind of stories, you don't hear much from the local scene because it's still in the very growing stage, I would say. So, for example, in Hollywood, you hear certain intense actors. Even once the director screams cut, they are still that intense, and they just go and sit in that corner because they want to be so tuned in and that kind of method acting. But some people, when it's action, they get into it. When it's cut, they're like back to their fun self or whatever it is. So what sort of actor are you?
I think the latter part.
Okay.
We laugh a lot. I mean, like Fabian is kind of like brooding, intense all the time. Intense 24/7, kind of trying to stay within his character and within his bubble. Maybe because of the role, I think it depends on the role.
Right.
Like if I'm playing somebody that is too far-fetched and require a lot of technicalities, then to switch on and switch off could be a tricky part.
Yep.
Or someone or a role that requires a super deep emotional well.
Yep.
So the last thing you want is the whole team to wait for you to get into your character before they start working or start rolling. So that's the last thing you want. But with some role, you kind of slip. You kind of it's easy for you to slip into the role within 3 seconds.
Yep.
So it depends on and it depends on the complexity of the role. Most of the time, it depends how hard it is, and the word hard could mean anything.
To different people. So,
it could be, the hard could be just saying things in Mandarin, 2 lines in Mandarin, like how are you and have you eaten, but because of the language, so you don't want to mess it up, so better stay in character because you want to run lines in your head and things like that. So sometimes crying scene, but then if you have done it 20 over times, then you still can laugh and blah blah blah, and 5 seconds before the camera start rolling, then you go into it. So it doesn't matter what kind of complexity, but if I kind of find it's tough, then normally stay off me. I want to stay in my bubble.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you. And great pleasure, bro.
I'm looking forward to watching Fly By Night in
I really hope you enjoy it.
Yeah,
I hope
really.
if you like it, then please spread the words around, and all of you as well. Please watch Fly By Night, 11 April.